So remember this. Remember I was telling you, we want to focus on Gaza, but not to forget about the West Bank, because there are still settlements being built in the West Bank. There have been real estate events in the United States and in Toronto, Canada, selling Palestinian homes to American Israelis, again, which is against international law. Now it appears that Israel is moving forward with trying to annex the entire West Bank. This was the biggest project in the West Bank to date, as from what I have read. And this is a big problem. Now, this explains something, because Jeremy Lafredo, he's from the Gray Zone, he posted this the other day, and this all makes more sense now. Right now, armed Israeli settlers who are living in the West Bank against Israeli law and international law are destroying the pump that brings water to the Palestinian village of al-Kar, south of Hebron. Temperatures will reach 101 degrees tomorrow. Look at this, folks. You can't make this up. So, number one, this should not be allowed. Again, this is illegal. And we can say this over and over again. But the reality is, Israel is not being held accountable. Now, to the people who want to go back to October 7th, people like Piers Morgan, and say, do you condemn Hamas? What does this have to do with October 7th? Not one thing. Hamas is not in the West Bank. So, like I said to you before, this goes back way before October 7th. They want the land. They don't want the Palestinian people there. We're going to get into this clip here from Al Jazeera. It says, Watchdog says Israeli seizures of the West Bank is peaking. Let's get into this clip here.
Israel is expected to go ahead with a massive land seizure in the occupied West Bank. This will bring the total amount of land taken by the state to a record 12.7 square kilometers this year, and would make it the largest land grab in over 3 decades. That's according to settlement tracking organization Peace Now. Let's bring in our correspondent Nida Ibrahim. She's joining us live from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Extremely concerning reports from Peace Now. Nida, tell us what they're saying.
Before she answers, I just want to mention, she said Ramallah. There's a statue of Nelson Mandela in Ramallah. Nelson Mandela from South Africa, because Nelson Mandela stood in solidarity with the Palestinian people because he knew what was happening in Israel was apartheid. It's a damn shame.
Well, they're saying that there is a meeting that's being carried out now, and it's expected to continue until tomorrow by the planning committee in the illegal settlement of Beit El to regulate and approve the building of more than 6,000 settlement units here in the occupied West Bank. If that announcement is made public, which we are expecting it either tonight or tomorrow, then we are talking about 9,000 settlement units being approved just since this year started. And we were already talking about the year 2023 being the highest on record when it comes to the approval of new units, which amounted last year to 12,000 units here in the occupied West Bank. Let's remind our viewers that when we talk about the occupied West Bank, we are talking about 60% of it where Palestinians are not allowed to build without getting an almost impossible Israeli permit to build. This is why we see them using these lands for grazing, using them for farming. But in the past few years, we've been seeing how the Israeli forces are moving with plans to confiscate lands, to give them to the expansion of the illegal Israeli settlements at the expense of the indigenous people.
Nida, thank you for that. Nida Ibrahim with the latest.
Let me just pause here for just a second. Well, let me let this finish, and I want to say something about that permit.
Just live in Ramallah.
So I'm pretty sure if Netanyahu were to respond to this, he would say, well, they're allowed to apply for a permit. But of course, he would omit that. It is very difficult for anyone to even get that permit. And that is on purpose. They don't want the Palestinian people there. They want them gone because they want the land. This, to me, out of everything, even before October 7th, this to me has to be the biggest, most disgusting thing before October 7th, because this is something that everyone knew was going on for the longest time. The United States government and the State Department has said on record that this is against international law, but this is who they are giving weapons to. This is who they choose to fund. And they know that what Israel is doing is illegal. So you have the United States government giving billions of dollars to Ukraine, which NATO just said Ukraine cannot join them because they're too corrupt. And you have the United States government giving money and weapons to Israel that are committing illegal acts. So the US government is giving billions of dollars to corrupt officials and criminals instead of using that money here for the American people. That's how I want you to think about this. It does not make any sense. There should be more people outraged about this. Again, Hamas is not in the West Bank. There's no excuse for nothing. You cannot say we are destroying these settlements because we're trying to weed out Hamas. Hamas is not there. And this goes back to what I've said before. This is why you can't have a two-state solution. There's no way they're going to give those settlements back, and they're still destroying Palestinian people's home in the West Bank. This is why I continue to say that they want all of the land. It's not just Gaza. They want the West Bank. They want part of Lebanon. They want part of Syria. Netanyahu laid this out on the world stage in front of people with a map in his hand. And now all of a sudden, people seem to have amnesia. Now all of a sudden, no one remembers this happening. But the video still lives on forever. We're going to get into this article here from The Guardian. Everyone is acknowledging this. Israel has approved the largest West Bank land grab in 30 years. 30 years. Israel has approved the largest seizure of land in the occupied West Bank in more than 3 decades. Peace Now said authorities recently approved the appropriation of 12.7 square kilometers, which is nearly 5 square miles, of land in the Jordan Valley, indicating it was the largest single appropriation approved since the 1993 Oslo Accords. And you want to know why? The excuse that they're giving for this? Because they are upset that other nations that they felt were supposed to be on their side have voted to acknowledge Palestinian state. That's why they're doing this, because other nations have voted for the acknowledgement of a Palestinian state. So their response to that is to punish the Palestinian people more. This is not a government. This is not an administration. This is a fucking mafia. And we need to call it out as such. No way Russia would be allowed to do this. No way China would be allowed to do this. But because our politicians are in the back pocket of AIPAC and the Israeli lobby, they're just letting this happen. They could stop this in an instant. Who is going to stop them? Who is going to stop the Israeli government? Besides South Africa, it took South Africa having the balls to take Israel to The Hague. Everybody else sat by. They knew what was happening. They knew what they were doing to those people. But it took South Africa, another country that has dealt with apartheid, to be the one to say, we are going to take them to The Hague and put their crimes on the world stage. This is disgusting. Settlement monitors say the recent land acquisition links Israeli settlements along the crucial corridor adjacent to Jordan. A development, they say, threatens the formation of a future Palestinian state. What did I tell you? Everybody see it now? This is why I say anyone who is telling you calling for a two-state solution, they're not being serious about this at all. Israel occupied the West Bank, capturing it from Jordan in a 6-day war of 1967. Since then, successive governments have made efforts to permanently cement Israeli control over the land, in part by declaring large swaths as state lands, which prevents private Palestinian ownership. How is this any different from some of the segregation laws that we had in the United States? How is this any different from the redlining, where they wouldn't allow Black families to buy homes in suburban neighborhoods? How is this any different? Everybody see the connection. This is why you got to connect foreign policy to domestic policy. We still have this going on. The recent land seizure, which was approved late last month but only publicized on Wednesday, comes after the seizure of 8 square kilometers of the land in the West Bank in March and 2.6 square kilometers in February. Peace Now says the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and far-right Finance Minister Smotrich are determined to fight against the entire world and against the interests of the people of Israel for the benefit of a handful of settlers. So here is the Israeli government going against the wishes of their own people. What is happening here? For a handful of settlers. They're thieves. Nobody should applaud this. Nobody. Today, it is clear to everyone that this conflict cannot be resolved without a political settlement that establishes a Palestinian state alongside Israel, the group added. Still, the Israeli government chooses to actually make it difficult. So let me talk about this here. Peace Now, they know this is not an option. They know damn well this is not an option. UN spokesperson Stephanie called it a step in the wrong direction, adding that the direction we want to be heading is to find a negotiated two-state solution. See how they're continuing this garbage? Craig Mockheiber, when I interviewed him on this show, he said one of the reasons why he stepped down from the UN was because they were complicit in all of this. And also, he told you that a two-state solution is a non-option. We are far past that time. There were times that there could have been a two-state solution. We're past that now. In a leaked recording captured by Peace Now, Smotrich, during a conference for his national religious party, Religious Zionism, disclosed that the land confiscations in 2024 surpassed previous year's averages by approximately tenfold. This thing is mega strategic, and we're all investing a lot in it. This is something that will change the map dramatically. Here we go again. Change the map dramatically. I mean, how much more does this administration have to say to get people to understand what they are trying to do? They are very explicit with their language. In May of 2023, Smotrich, who said his life's mission is to thwart the establishment of a Palestinian state, had instructed Israeli government ministries to prepare for 500,000 more Israeli settlers to move into the occupied West Bank. 500,000. Because they believe that this land belongs to them. All because a book tells them it does. On June 20th, The Guardian revealed how the Israeli military has quietly handed over significant legal powers in the West Bank to pro-settler civil servants working for Smotrich. An order posted by the IDF on its website on May 29th transfers responsibility for dozens of bylaws at the civil administration, the Israeli body governing in the West Bank, from the military to officials led by Smotrich at the defense ministry. Since October 7th, settlers have stepped up beatings and attacks, forcing Palestinians to flee to nearby towns, and there has been an increase in army home demolitions. I've seen videos of those. Late in June, Israeli soldiers have destroyed 11 homes and other structures in al-Kir, a village in the occupied West Bank, leaving 50 people homeless. While early in July, they fired live ammunition and tear gas at 6 Palestinian villagers, including 4 women and a 5-year-old girl. Now, for people who push back and say that Hamas is using the people as human shields, again, Hamas is not in the West Bank. What is the defense that Netanyahu would have for the IDF for them killing a 5-year-old girl? What is the excuse? What's the excuse they would have for them shooting those 4 women, other than the fact that they wanted their land and they wanted their home? No person that has any type of moral compass can sit by and say that what Israel is doing is right. And if they are saying that, they do not have a moral compass. So you think that this land belongs to you, so you get to do whatever you want to the people that are already there. That is wrong. How is that any different when white Americans burn down Black Wall Streets in this country? How is that any different? So you can't be against one type of oppression and ignore another. And I'll say it again. You can't be against one type of oppression and ignore another. Nelson Mandela understood that. Fred Hampton understood that. Kwame Ture understood that. They all got this. It is only a matter of time. This is going to spread to other people. What's next? Is Netanyahu going to go into Africa next? And I'm pretty sure the U.S. government would sit back and let that happen too, because they don't give a damn about those African people. Not one damn. This is all happening because of Netanyahu and his administration. And don't forget, but the money that is coming from the U.S. government. Why are we giving $3.8 billion a year to a mafia? Why are we giving $3.8 billion a year to murderers, to thieves? And I don't see how any politician can be totally fine with this. How can you sit there? Because you got your big fancy house. You got your pension. You got your book deal. You got your political career. So you can ignore what is happening to those people. And if they can ignore what's happening to the Palestinian people, they can ignore what's happening to you. Okay? Let's make that connection. If they can ignore that Palestinians are having their homes demolished, that they're being killed, and they're giving Israel the money, do you think they're going to give a damn about the fact that you don't have health care? Do you think they're going to give a damn about the fact that your schools are underfunded? Do you think they give a damn about the fact that you're getting evicted, that you're not paid a decent living wage? No, they don't. Everybody make the connection now. They don't care. Israel is a bully. They're the bully on the playground that continues to hit and kick and stomp and push. And then one day Hamas said, not anymore. And there's more people focused on Hamas responding after years of occupation and oppression and torture. Don't forget about what they've done to the Palestinian prisoners. You want to talk about hostages, Pierce Morgan. And they respond. And everybody's focused on the response and not being focused on the aggressor. This is supremacy at its finest. All out supremacy. And do not come to me and say that this is about religion. This ain't about no damn religion. This ain't about no damn religion. This is about supremacy and believing that you are the only ones that are allowed to be there. Religion is the scapegoat. There are many people in this country that practice Judaism and are not Zionists and do not agree with what is happening in Israel. Not one bit. There's no way you can stand for that. Nico had a really good segment about this that I want to play as well. Nico does these great hotspot videos, him and my comrade Nick. I want you to hear how Nico expresses this.
But Hamas, right? Now, a lot of people will still try to convince you that this is not an apartheid state, but they'll leave out the fact that while Israelis can seek leases for these new settlements, Palestinians still cannot have private ownership in any area in the West Bank. Now, this has been announced as part of a grander plan to annex the entirety of the West Bank. And if Israel successfully annexes the entirety of the West Bank, where exactly are Palestinians supposed to go? Or a better question, how is Israel even allowed to openly discuss annexing an entire territory without being punished and thoroughly reprimanded by the international community? Please
pause for a second. Where are the Palestinian people supposed to go? See, this is why they're trying to kill them, because they know they really have nowhere to go. They sure as hell can't go to Gaza right now. Jordan isn't going to take people. Jordan's like, no. The Queen of Jordan herself is Palestinian, but they are very much aligned with the United States, okay? So they back Israel. Ain't that some shit? You know, Queen Rania, you should feel some kind of damn way that you turned your back on your own people like that. You would think she would feel bad. You know, just something to think about. Where are they going to go? They can't go into Lebanon. Israel is fighting Lebanon. Israel is fighting Hezbollah, which is incredibly crazy. Knowing that Hezbollah they want a greater war. They want a bigger war. This is what they want to happen. They want things to escalate. They're insane. Netanyahu is insane. So where are they supposed to go?
explain that to me. And this is what we mean by this conflict did not start on or after October 7th, because there is no Hamas in the West Bank. There are no Israeli hostages in the West Bank. Israel has no reason to be in the West Bank, and they made it clear, yeah, we don't really have a reason. We're just punishing Palestinians because other countries had the audacity to recognize Palestinian sovereignty and humanity. And as we've seen in Gaza, the Palestinians no longer have anywhere to go. And in the West Bank, they're annexing the entire area and Palestinians will have nowhere to go. So when you're killing them and you're leaving them with nowhere to go, we would normally describe that as a genocide. And if you don't think it's genocide and you want to use the same tired excuse, please explain to everybody how Israel annexing an entire territory and removing Palestinians is somehow Israel defending itself, when they literally admit it has nothing to do with defending ourselves. We're just punishing them. Yep, that's our only goal. There's no room for interpretation, no ambiguity. We just want to punish them.
Let me just say something here as well. That's a very good point that Nico brought up about them defending themselves. Again, they are openly saying to people that we are doing this because other nations have decided to recognize a Palestinian state. That's their sole purpose. It's not for defense. So Piers Morgan, what is your response to that? I'm pretty sure he's going to have to talk about this soon. He'll probably have another debate with someone else on the channel, but you look kind of stupid. You really do look some kind of way, because many of us have tried to tell you this has been their plan and their intent all along. Their plan is not just to, oh, we got to get rid of Hamas. Hamas is not in the West Bank. There's no excuse. There's no excuse other than the fact that they are punishing these people because other nations have decided to stand with them, or at least acknowledge these nations that have come out in a vote and said, yes, we agree of a Palestine state. We choose to recognize it. They're not heavily critical of Israel. They've had mild criticism. And this is the response from Netanyahu. I warned people that they were incredibly dangerous. I've been warning people about this for quite some time, that this is what it would come to, that it would spread, that it would not just be Gaza. And here we are. And there is nothing stopping Israel from going into another country and doing the same thing, because there is no accountability here. The Hague, you failed people. The ICJ, you failed people. UN Security Council, you failed people. The entire world is seeing this happen right before our eyes. And there's just no excuse. The only thing that they can say is the fact that they have a right to defend themselves. This is not defense. This is not defense. The people in the West Bank, they're under apartheid. They can't even take certain roads. I'm seeing Palestinian people say on video on Al Jazeera, they're afraid to go to work and leave their home, because if they leave the house and there's no one in the house, settlers will come and take the home. There are videos of settlers actually squatting right outside of Palestinians' homes, waiting for them to leave the house. What is this? That's thug-like behavior. And no one can defend that. And you think if they do it there, they can do it here. There's no way. No freaking way. You have to remember who has power. Israel is in control. They control all the resources. They created the apartheid. So for all the people pointing their fingers at the Palestinian people, oh, well, the Palestinian Authority failed you. Yeah, my government failed me too, okay? The U.S. government has failed us too. Just because your government failed you, or the organization that was responsible for you failed the people, and there was some corruption there, that does not give Israel the right to get rid of all the people. I don't get it. Anyone making that excuse, it's ridiculous. And this is what drives me freaking crazy about people like RFK. How can you not see this? I told you guys it's not just Gaza. What does he say? Oh, I believe that Israel has the right to defend itself. And listen, I'm pro-Israel. And what does he say? Marianne Williamson, I heard you throw your hat back in the ring. You back in the race. What do you say, Marianne? What does Marianne say? Well, Israel has a right to exist. And when you say that it doesn't have a right to exist, that is anti-Semitic. What do you do? All the people who said this mess. It's ridiculous. July 24th, something big is happening. This is from Answer Coalition. Genocide Joe Biden is expected to meet with Israeli war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu during his July 24th visit to Washington, D.C. Join people from around the country to surround the Capitol and demand Netanyahu be arrested. That is happening July 24th. Answer Coalition, they are doing the damn thing. They've been putting on a number of protests. National mobilization, all out to the Capitol, arrest Netanyahu, surround the Capitol, July 24th at 11 a.m. And so here's the thing. Here's something you can do, folks. If any of your representatives did not condemn this visit of Netanyahu to the Capitol, call your congressman. Call your congressmen and women and demand that they reject this, especially after what you just heard about Israel trying to annex the West Bank. Call your congressmen. A couple of them have condemned it. A couple of them said they will not appear. They don't want anything to do with this, and this is wrong. Our government is bringing a war criminal, a genocidal maniac who is stealing people's land to the Capitol to come and have a talk. What do we need to talk about? The only reason he coming here to ask for more money. And there's no way we should even allow more money to go out the door. They haven't even taken care of you. Are you still sitting at home trying to ration your insulin? You still trying to figure out if your health insurance is going to be enough? Are you trying to figure out if you're going to be able to pay your light bill next week? You're trying to figure out, do you have to work that extra job? You're trying to figure out if they're going to fix the freaking school in your neighborhood that your kids go to? You're trying to figure out if you're going to be able to pay for college education for your kids? While you're trying to figure that out, they're not trying to figure it out because they don't give a damn about you. They sold out to corporations, to Wall Street, to the military industrial complex a long time ago. And I'll be damned if Netanyahu comes here and he leaves DC with the promise of more money, all of us should be in the streets. There's no damn way. No way. So that protest is July 24th at 11 a.m. That is hosted by Answer Coalition, Surround the Capitol. Jesus Christ. It's a mess. It's so disgusting. So disgusting. And if you have the opportunity to attend any of your state meetings, if your representatives hold local meetings, sometimes they do, try to attend those meetings and say, why are you okay with Netanyahu coming to Congress and they're trying to annex all of the West Bank? And if the U.S. government gives him money, they are giving him the permission to do so. Everyone has to understand that. This is a colonial project. When you think about what is happening in Israel, this is the final phase of colonialism. I told you the other night, Netanyahu is not from Israel. He is not indigenous to the land. He's from Poland. Same thing with a lot of the other members a part of his administration. These are settlers. These are people that came in and took land. Such a mess. I'm going to go to some of the comments here in the chat. Ay, ay, ay. Casey, thank you, Sabby. Biggest land grab since Oslo. Yep, since the Oslo Accords. Daniel, it's wild how much they destroy the land they want. Well, it kind of reminds me of gentrification in the United States, where oftentimes they will destroy the land or the buildings or that are already there and they'll build something new. Moss says fake Israel doesn't want peace. They've broken every peace deal over the past 67 years. Buki says, I mean, it sounds like robbery. That's exactly what it sounds like. Joey Peltier, shout out to Joey for being a member for 12 months, says land back. Eric, correct, Sabby, 100%. They have scapegoat the religions for their evil. Ashura says Jordan equals 70% Palestinian. Right. But this is the other thing. When people say, what about the surrounding countries? Why aren't they stepping in to help Israel in some way, shape, or form? It's because they are already in an agreement with the United States. They have an alliance with the US. That includes Jordan. That includes Egypt, of course, Saudi Arabia. I mean, yeah, they're there, but they're aligned with the US. Thank you for the super chat, Wasim. Some IDF have patches showing greater Israel from Egypt to Saudi Arabia. Thank you for this one as well. As the two blue lines in their flag means from the Nile, Egypt, to Euphrates, Iraq. Plus, Jordan is also a fake country created by the UK to be a buffer for Israel. There you go. There you go. Kiki, the fish. Sabby, you should go on Pierce's show. I don't think Pierce will like that too much. I don't think he would ever bring me on that show. I don't think that would ever happen. Shout out to Rose for becoming a new Sabby member. Give Rose a big whoop whoop. Thank you for the super chat, Wasim. Jordanians in secret, except the elites, are starting to dislike the monarchy, which British appointed from Saudi Arabia. And Jordanians really don't like the WEF queen, Rania, who really controls Jordan. Yeah. And Rania, she had an interview on CNN, like she's Palestinian. You know, it's like I have the same criticism against DJ Khaled. I have that same criticism. DJ Khaled is on the internet right now bragging about the fact that he has a watch that's over like what, $2 million something or whatever, and hasn't said anything about what's happening to his own people. That's because DJ Khaled is also in bed with Zionists. If you follow his record label and who he actually works for, you'll see that. Isn't that sad? Thank you, Cooper. Whenever politicians or anyone calls Israel a Jewish state, they're explicitly stating there is no place for Muslims. Exactly. And thank you for saying it that way, Cooper, because that's exactly what they're saying. Because it's like, I don't know, you know, like imagine if we had something like that here in the United States. Imagine if they called the United States, they said, well, this is going to be a white country and that's it. Then that means there's no place for anyone else. Such a freaking mess. Such a freaking mess.